Jeanette Lee, audio description, 20 minutes. Jeanette Lee's life is a mirror of the Victorian Disability Movement. She has experienced the birth of disability pride, the growth of political activism, protests, and the many legal battles that came with the introduction of human rights, disability, and anti-discrimination legislation. She continues to break the barriers that face people with disabilities.
When I was younger, I was more just trying to be, so-called normal and just fit in with everyone else and not rock the boat and just, just try and be like everyone else. Someday, oh, deep in my heart,
Barrier buster.
We shall overcome someday.
Case number 1, 1989, Monash University. A photo shows Jeanette in her graduation cap and gown, her father standing behind her.
I started my social work course at Melbourne University, and I was interested in helping people and getting out there to make a difference in people's lives. And I went on a placement which had a field teacher that was very negative in her attitude towards disability. At that stage I wasn't very assertive to say, no, I don't want to go on this placement. She would say things like, your wheelchair is a barrier to communication. This world is not made for wheelchairs. She would say that I wasn't being realistic, I hadn't come to terms with my disability. You're not going to be able to cope and all this kind of thing. So she was putting me off all the time. I decided I wanted to fight back. I wasn't going to let her stop me from, doing what I want, for my career. And it was the first time that I was quite blatantly discriminated against. I actually went to get some advocacy assistance as well and made a complaint to the university. They hadn't really realised, some of the field teachers' attitudes were like that. So as part of that, they made a policy about doing training with the field teachers before they took on people with disabilities and to check out the environment and look at the access and issues around support. Because before that they hadn't had a student with a disability. Good came out of that, and I was able to, get in touch with, my inner strength to be able to, know my rights and to make a complaint and to fight back. And it was, my first experience of having to really advocate for myself.
Case number 2, 1993, going to America. Jeanette aboard a bus.
In 1993, my manager nominated me for a professional exchange program to America. Americans with disabilities had pretty much fought for their changes. They had a real sense of disability pride in themselves and pride in their achievements. And they were very vocal about speaking up about, what they wanted, what they needed to change. They didn't let people get away with discriminating them, and I found that very empowering being with them and other people on the program, learning from each other. They had achieved a lot of changes by like demonstrations, big campaigns that joined together with human rights movements, other human rights causes that supported them, and it was that sense of solidarity and uniting on a cause. So the American trip was a very consciousness-raising, empowering experience for me, and I think got me going in my sort of advocacy role within my work and my personal life. That inspired me to, want to get something done in Melbourne. That was also when our new legislation had just come in.
Case number 3, 1993, Disability Discrimination Act. A copy of the legislation.
It was a tool that we could use to get changes, but it depended on people making complaints. If we don't complain, nothing will change. Use it and implement it and make changes in our society.
Case number 4, 1994. The Americans come to Melbourne. A group photo.
Americans came back to Melbourne as part of the exchange, and they really encouraged everyone to become barrier busters. Just get out there, make a change, to recognise there's discrimination all over the place. They sang, "We shall overcome."
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday.
Case number 5, 1994. Dare. A Dare banner at a protest.
We got together and we created a coalition called Disability Action, Rights and Equality, and DARE for short. We wanted to educate people as well as to do direct sort of actions to start to challenge the system. One of our big demonstrations was the blockading of the trams on Swanston Street and Collins Street. We planned the demonstration and organised for handcuffing to the front of the tram. So at a certain time, we all came out and blocked the trams and handcuffed themselves to the tram. And our chant was "Access for all, access for all." That demonstration and blockade of the trams was very successful. The police and people were sort of caught off guard, quite surprised, so they didn't know what to do. And at that time they thought, oh, we can't touch people with disabilities. So they pretty much let us be there all day, and they had to send in all these buses to pick people up. So DARE did quite a few different actions. We were on TV, on the news, this new group that were, going to challenge the system, and that we're out there and wanting changes, wanting equality for people with disabilities. We had quite a few people that were interested in being handcuffed to the trams. I was probably more comfortable in being the media spokesperson and talking to the police and negotiating with them. Sometimes I led the chants. We also sang songs like "We Shall Overcome" and "We Shall Not Be Moved" and all that kind of thing. Yeah. As a result of our actions, we were finally granted a meeting with the Transport Minister to voice our issues, and we said, no, we are here, we're a force to be reckoned with. Being involved in the demonstration was quite challenging for me because I hadn't really been actively involved with one before. But because I really believed in the cause, I wanted to really be involved and be out there. I'm not naturally a very loud and full-on, with like getting involved with demonstrations. I probably, have a more gentle approach. So I was, having to push my boundaries as well, because there is a time when you have to go out there and, chant and fight and stuff like that. Yeah. I felt quite exhilarated by it all, but quite challenged as well, because it wasn't, part of the way that I usually related with people. But I think, an empowering feeling of, we can get out there and change the world, change things,
Case number 6, 1995. Using the Act, Jeanette beside a parking meter.
In 1995, I made a complaint to the Human Rights and Equal Opportunity Commission using the Disability Discrimination Act. I couldn't find a disabled parking spot, and I was able to park on St Kilda Road, but they had the ticket machines where you had to get out of the car and get a ticket and then go back into your car and put it on the dashboard. For me, that's very difficult because, I'm in a wheelchair. At that stage, I was driving a van, and for me, it would take quite a long time, and then I had to try and get someone on the street to get the ticket for me. So I decided that time, I'm not going to do this. I just left my car without displaying a ticket. And as expected, when I got back, I got a parking infringement notice, and I thought, look, I couldn't even get a ticket if I wanted to, so I'm going to make a complaint. So I actually wrote to the Melbourne City Council and made a complaint, and they just ignored my letter, and I didn't even get a response. So I thought, look, I'm not going to take this. I'm going to go to the Human Rights and Equal Opportunity Commission and use the Disability Discrimination Act. When they contacted the Melbourne City Council, they said, oh, we're so sorry, they went to the wrong person, we would have waived the penalty, and that's fine, she doesn't have to pay, and we'll even give her a parking permit. And they were trying to buy me off, offering me sort of individual sort of incentives so I wouldn't take the complaint further. I wanted to make it so that everyone with disability could be able to park in those areas where they have these inaccessible ticket machines. And then they sent their lawyers in, and they were pretty rigid about not wanting to change anything. I kept on saying, you either change the system, or I'll take this further to the formal hearing. After 2 or 3 years, finally finalised. They would exempt people with disabilities that had a disabled parking permit. You didn't have to display a ticket on your dashboard. It took quite a while to change things, but it was worth it to be able to persist and to get changes for everyone, to make parking easier for all people with disabilities.
Case number 7, 2009. Mikey. Jeanette beside a ticket reader.
So in 2009, when they were wanting to bring in the Mikey ticketing system, they brought it to our attention about what they were doing, the system, and they told us, this is all been checked and it's DDA compliant. And when I was looking through the details of it, the heights of the machines, were too high. I knew they were too high for me to reach, and they were saying it was DDA compliant, and I was thinking, oh, I don't know about that. So I decided to check the standards of the Disability Discrimination Act transport standards, and I found one section which they referred to ticket machines. They said that the maximum height of the ticket machine, I think, was at 900 millimetres for the point of inserting the ticket. And so I brought that up. They said, oh, we didn't really address that standard because it's not inserting a ticket, it's scanning a ticket. It's not inserting a ticket. We did not want them to go ahead with the system as it was, and they needed to make changes. We weren't going to be used as a rubber stamp for the system. So in the end, the Department of Transport finally agreed to exempt people with disabilities who couldn't use the machines, and they introduced the travel access pass, which then people with disabilities could apply for. So from that change, that has led to bigger changes. To make changes, we have to work with the systems and to break down the barriers and push for, you know, fairer legislations and recognition of rights.
The personal is political. The political is personal.
We'll walk hand in hand someday.
I think often people put up with things, you know, they're so used to having to go around things or, you know, water down their goals or dreams because of the, you know, barriers, the access barriers, the attitudinal barriers. I've, you know, come from my individual journey of getting in touch more with my disability and rights, and, you know, being able to become more aware of who I am and having pride in myself and not, you know, just trying to hide the disability. And, you know, our personal power is very important to be able to be able to speak up and to make changes for ourselves, but also, you know, for other people to make a difference. There might be some difficulties and you have to persist, and sometimes, you know, you fall down or whatever, but you need to get up and keep on going. You know, we have a responsibility, I think, to, you know, for other people, the younger generations, to, you know, to show them what can be done and to be able to pass on, you know, our knowledge and experience, to speak up, to, you know, break down the obstacles, become a barrier buster, getting that, you know, bigger change, a systemic change, to make the world a better place, a more just world.
Jeanette's smiling face among city buildings, power lines, bright yellow flowers and a butterfly.
We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday.
Singer Jeanette Lee. Created by Jeanette Lee, Fiona Tuomi, Jacqui Ward. Part of the Dangerous Deeds Project, 2015. Project partners: Disability and Diversity, Start Community Arts, SARU, Self-Advocacy Resource Unit.
Oh, deep in my
Creative Victoria, Australia Council for the Arts.
I do believe we'll walk hand in hand someday.
End.